Hey there everyone, this is Jeremy, the Music Andy, and I'm very excited today to talk to you about Diaspora Problems from GLO. Coming from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, this is a 4-piece hardcore punk group. This is their 4th installment in their catalog of albums. There's some elements of trap, rap, sass, noise, and screamo into this album as well as the hardcore punk. I have not heard this band before, and I'm completely surprised that I haven't. They check off all of the genre marks on this, hardcore, punk, noise, and they're talking a lot about political, social, economic issues that are a lot more in tune to my beliefs as well. I checked out the band's Bandcamp. That's the way that I listened to this album, and I saw that there was a little thank you section with each member kind of giving a paragraph, a few sentences, thanking people that were hands-on with the album and hands-off in support of making the album. And I just want to jump on there and say thank you to this band for making this album, because I'm going to spoil it. This is probably my album of the year so far. That's a very big statement, so let's just jump into this masterpiece that GLO made for us, and let's talk about this album. I'm going to start off this review by saying that this album is like being stuck on a bus that's going 150 miles per hour. There's potholes all over the road, and somebody just cut the brakes. I can count on my one hand how many times I was able to catch my breath or focus on something besides the music that was playing. Having hardcore punk as your main genre is going to be something that does that, but this band is not limited to hardcore punk. Like I said, there are other genres that are going to be involved in this album, and they're not only going from track to track sounding different. Within each track, these genres are coming out and constantly switching and shuffling and rotating around. Starting off this album is a quick little bong rip into this light-hearted pop punk guitar with some nice fun catching vocals that are a little bit frantic, but nowhere compared to what's going to come later, not only in this album but on this track. From this uplifting start, we're going to move into a much more aggressive spot, and then we're going to move into a beat-down, breakdown point of hardcore music. The vocals throughout all of these switches are going to be constantly chameleoning themselves to the environment that they find themselves in, very complementary to what's going on. The use of growls, screaming, singing, yelling, rapping are not only prominent in this song, but again, on this entire album, and they're going to constantly keep flipping, like I'm saying, to the instrumentation that's going on around it. When I first heard this opening track, Gold Chain Punk, Who Gon' Beat My Ass, I was a little bit scared that all of these songs were going to kind of bleed in together. All of these were going to be kind of energy racing, and it was just going to kind of be that with no really unique tones, memories separating each track, but absolutely not at all. You can jump at any point on this album and have a great listen, a very fresh listen, and there is no stale point at all throughout the entire listen. Coming Correct is Cheaper is a track that kind of starts off, and it's a lot more into the sasscore kind of noise rock approach to music. It's very frantic, it's very manic in the beginning, and then it's going to switch into a much more just punk-focused, oriented track. The energy is always racing throughout this, and I constantly like that right when you get caught into this groove, the band is going to pull the rug underneath you and completely surprise you and make you lose your footing. And I know that these vocals are going to be hit or miss for a lot of people. But for me, listening to bands like the Blood Brothers, Black Eyes, For Your Health, all prepared me for this listening experience exactly, and it is paying off tremendously. Back to the album though, and the tracks. The next track, Thumbsucker, brings in some horns, and it almost has a ska feel to it. Again, it is still very action-packed. It's very adrenaline pacing. The screaming section at the end of this track, where Pierce is just kind of screaming anything that comes off to the top of his head, that being antidepressants to 420, had me absolutely dying. I thought this was a hilarious touch, and again, there is some comedy into this album, not very much. This is a very serious album. It has a lot of political issues, like I was talking about, a lot of social issues, a lot of economic issues. But there are these light-hearted moments, and just looking at the track list name in true screamo fashion, emo fashion, these song titles are absolutely hilarious for the most part. They're very out of the ordinary. They're very abstract, just off the top of your head to make a laugh, and I think it's fantastic. Jump is the next track, and this is a track that I am dying to see live. This is heavy energy. Pierce is absolutely lighting up the microphone. How the hell are you rapping that fast? And the instrumentals on this are very, very aggressive. They're very murderous. It almost has a Daughter's feel, kind of having the guitars switch to a kill setting. Driponomics, the next track, is a track that if you just want some energy, throw this on. This is trap metal. It's got some very heavy distorted 808s on it, and it has this wonk-ass beat reset on it. This track is so filthy, but it's so clean at the same time. You know, it's making fun of Reaganomics, and I'm all for that. Fuck Ronald Reagan. 5 Years in My Family is the track that finally allows you to catch your breath. This is your one. You're going to have another one, but this is your one for right now. It is starting off in a lot more of a progressive, softer, kind of ambient approach to their guitar and their instrumentation overall, but soon it gets scrapped for the hardcore punk. Pierce is talking about his family upbringing, about how it led to his life right now. You know, privileged, authoritarian, but he wouldn't change anything for it because it did lead to the decisions and the way of thinking that he is currently living now. The lyrics throughout this entire album are fantastically written. For the most part, if you are not familiar with the genre, you can't really make it out from your ear. You're going to have to go on their Bandcamp and look at their lyrics, but I definitely suggest that you do this. I think this is well written. It's super personal. Pierce is a great writer, and it's easy to get the emotions that he's feeling off of it, not only how it's displayed, but again, how it is written. Heavy themes on anarchism, progression, and identifying fakes that are in your life, which are all themes that I can get behind. John Jay is our next huge track. No offense to the things I carry and We Want's Revenge. All of the songs on this album are badass, but John Jay is the next one that really sticks out for me. John Jay delivers the more screamo side of this album. It is super manic. It is super suffocating. The instrumentation surrounding these screams that are just stacking on top of each other offer you no service on trying to get some air because it is just adding to that suffocation as the vocals are. I think that they did a fantastic job vocally and instrumentally complementing these two. There doesn't really need to be contrasting points on this one because this whole album kind of just feels like a contrasting thing. Plus, you got a recording at the end of this. That's true screamo emo fashion, and I applaud you for it. God Bless Y'all Real Good is a track that is very, again, energy racing. It's kind of our last full energy track. The midsection has this little trap beat, little breakdown, and the guitars are complementing it very well again. Fantastic overall feeling. Spiritual Level of Gang Shit has a much more of a classic rap rock approach at the beginning of it. Then these horns get firing off and it is just absolutely destructive. They're taking off. The energy is again there. The beginning of this track was that second time that you're able to breathe, but it was only for 2 minutes and they throw you right back into the madness. Everything at the end of this track is working together super well. I have never heard anything like this before. I think that this is super unique. I think it's super fresh, and I think that they have made an incredible sound here at the end of this album. Again, overall, this is my album of the year. This was the freshest listen that I've heard so far. I think that these have the best performances I've heard for the year so far. They're super experimental. They're adventurous. Comparing to their old albums, which I listened to after I listened to this album, things were a lot more, here and there. You can hear a lot of the ideas being tweaked with, being played with, but they polished it and they made it perfect on this album. So GLO, please come to Detroit so I can absolutely tear up that pit. I'm going 9.2 Cookie Monsters out of 10 on this one. What did you think of this album? What albums would you like me to review in the future? Please leave a comment below and let me know. Subscribe if you like the content. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Check out this fucking album.